Continuation to the earlier class. Okay. In the last class, we discussed about different soluble fractions of blood. So now we'll discuss about formed elements. In fact, we did in detail, and even this because only two cell units are there in the cell bus. So we'll go bit detail in cell bus. So formed elements are the cells which are in fact not soluble in the plasma or in the liquid which is there in case of your blood. Okay, and in these elements, RBCs are incomplete because they don't have the nuclei with them, and we don't call it as, and other organelles are also not there. That's what we don't call it as a organelle. Whereas the remaining WBCs are complete cells because they are having the nuclei as well as organelles are also there. That's what we call WBC as complete cells and RBC incomplete cells. And platelets are fragments actually. They are not cells at all. And due to fragmentation, and they are formed, and they are not at all called as the cells. And see, these WBCs will survive, and they may divide and produce, whereas RBCs will not be dividing, and they will not be propagating to the new cells. And see, WBC is having capacity, and but most of the WBC as well as RBC as well as platelets, they will be produced in bone marrows. And apart from bone marrow, you got kidney during that developmental stages. Even thyroid and kidney, spleens also works as a hemopoietic organs. We'll see. Whereas in circulatory system, their role will be in like exchanging and protection. Already we discussed in the last session. So whereas the doubling or dividing role is not there in case of your circulatory system. So if you see broadly, we can divide them. Platelet cells, I told you, they are the fragments of macro cells, and erythrocytes. There's RBC, and monocytes. Mono is a single lobed cells, and lymphocytes. Lymphocytes, what happens here? The lobe is very large, whereas cell matrix is going to be very less. Monocytes and other WBC, if you see, lymphocytes, T lymphocytes or B lymphocytes, these things, the lobe is going to be very high, nuclear lobe, and the cytoplasm is going to be very less in this case. And whereas remaining things, the cytoplasm is very high and lobes are small. And neutrophils are multi-lobed cells. Monocytes are single-lobed cell. Lymphocytes, it could be single or two or three lobed, but the only differentiation is their nuclear matrix is very high than that of cytoplasm. Erythrocytes, RBC. Erythrocytes, they are biconcave nature, and enucleate, there is no nucleus. Biconcave, what is biconcave? It is depressed, it is cavity is made on both the sides, so it is a biconcave. If it is a convex, it is like bulge, it's like concave, it is going inside. And there is no essential organelle in it. And diameter of generally what happened, as they have to move through the capillaries to the tissue and provide the oxygen over there, generally they will be smaller And sometimes what happened, even though they are larger than the small capillaries, they are having a capacity to like pseudopodias kind of thing. They will make pseudopodia type of structures, and they will pass through the capillaries also. Okay, even though they are larger than that of capillaries, they will are able to pass through it because of their capacity to change their shape. And there is a hemoglobin in it, which is responsible for gas transport. There is a carbon dioxide as well as oxygen transport is being carried out by the hemoglobin. And plasma membrane protein, there is a specific protein called as spectrin, and this spectrin protein plays very important role in oxygen binding, and we'll see later. And other proteins also there in case of plasma membrane, like other so here, because of erythrocytes, blood becomes viscous. Viscous, even though WBC are there, but RBC, as it is more in number, because of RBC, the blood becomes viscous. If you see the size is concerned, its length is around 7.5 microns, but the larger size is also observed whenever there is a hypoxia, less oxygen concentration, like when you go to the hilly regions. In such cases, that size of the hemoglobin is reported to become more than 10 microns, and the its length is concerned, its width is concerned, it is the 2.5 microns. You can see it is compressed. See, here it is compressed, here it is compressed. It is compressed on the both the sides. That's what it is called as biconcave. And because of the biconcave nature, it provides more surface area. If more the surface area, more the capacity to bind with the materials. Here, as it is the biconcave nature, it provides larger surface for binding with the oxygen. And 97% hemoglobin is there in case of RBC, and except water. If like if you contain, if you measure what you call the compounds, that 97% is hemoglobin. So major component, and the remaining is obviously membrane, and there is no mitochondria. ATP is not produced, so you have to go with the anaerobic process. So the efficiency of hemoglobin respiration is going to be very less, but it is doing some extent, and it is the best example for its function relations. Sickle cell anemia. Sickle cell anemia, one side, see here concave nature, that its suppression is required inside for its oxygen binding. If this suppression is lost, what happened? It will not be able to do the oxygen efficient oxygen binding. So in sickle cell anemia, it has lost its one side concave nature. It is lost one side concave nature. That's what it appears like a sickle. It is depressed only one side, and its oxygen carrying capacity is reduced. And as it is a universal truth, they transport the gases, respiratory gases, and it binds not only the oxygen, it also binds with the hemoglobin. In fact, it got more affinity towards carbon dioxide than that of oxygen. And the normal values of hemoglobin are 13 to 18 grams per 100 ml. It is measured grams per 100 ml. Units are very important. In case of females, 12 to 16 gram per 100 ml. And the hemoglobin content is a big issue with females, because of they will lose the blood hemoglobin every cycle. And see, the poiesis, the hemoglobin production takes place, but during the pregnancy or lactation period, that sufficient quantity of hemoglobin may not be produced. So the anemia default, like by virtue default anemia takes place in case of pregnant women as well as lactating mothers. So if you take the structure, you must have studied everything, but as it is a syllabus, just we should go through. And I don't know, you must have studied in your intermediate level, so it's far away. That's what we should do. So hemoglobin. Anyhow, we got a book also, hemoglobin. Exactly as per your syllabus, it is written by me. So once your college opens, once it is on offline classes, you can have this book with from you can refer. So it consists of four polypeptide chains and two alpha and two beta. Generally, we write two alpha, two beta chains in Roman, two alpha, two beta chains, and heme pigment, which is responsible for its red color. It binds to the this polypeptide chains. Okay, so this globin is having four there's chains, two alpha, two beta. This globin binds with the heme as a center molecule and gives a red color. Okay, in this heme molecule, central atom is iron. And see, if somebody says heme is red color, and in heme, iron is there which gives red color to the heme. And that's a this heme atom or iron atom in heme is responsible for oxygen binding. Okay, and this one iron atom basically binds with one oxygen. So in each hemoglobin molecule can transport four oxygen molecules. In hemoglobin, so what happens? How many hemes should be there? In each hemoglobin, four hemes are there. Four hemes will bind four oxygen molecules. Each RBC molecule, if you take 250 million hemoglobin molecules are there. See, one RBC contains 76% of what? Hemoglobin. That hemoglobin is not single hemoglobin. That is around 250 million hemoglobins. That is around 250 million hemoglobins. And these 250 million and each hemoglobin molecule, because it binds with the four heme in it, it will bind with the four oxygen molecules. So 250 million into 4, that is around 1000 million oxygen will be transported with single RBC. So the oxygen carrying capacity is very high, but see, we measure it in molars. We generally measure it in molars. So this is the structure. You can have a look. Structure of hemoglobin is concerned. There are two alpha chains. These two are alpha chains, and these two are beta chains. Okay, and these are, see here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Four heme moieties are binded in this hemoglobin structure. And if you see the individual heme moiety structure, it will be having a porphyrin structure, and centrally there will be iron moiety. And this region contributes to the redness. This is the iron containing heme pigment, and this is the entire thing. And so if you remove this one heme part from it, it won't be red color, and it won't be having the oxygen binding capacity or transport capacity. So once this hemoglobin comes in contact with lung gases, as there is a more amount of oxygen in it, like partial pressure of oxygen is going to be very high over there. So there it will bind with oxygen, and oxyhemoglobin is produced. That is ruby color. The other day I was mentioning dark color, it does not mean more hemoglobin. If it is a pale color, that is ruby red. Pale color is nothing but ruby red. That is, we consider it as a oxyhemoglobin. It is binded with oxygen. And if it is when it goes to the tissue, what happens here? Once it goes to the tissue, this will be releasing oxygen, will be in the tissue. Partial pressure of oxygen is less, whereas carbon dioxide partial pressure is very high. So what happens here? Oxygen will be released into the tissues, and carbon dioxide will be taken up by the What? And once it is deoxygenated, once it is lost oxygen, it will become the deoxyhemoglobin and it will be dark red color. This is what, if a person is having dark blood color, that indicates oxygen saturation is not taking place up to the requirement. If you see the athletes, generally athletes color, because continuously the oxygen is being consumed over there, deoxygenated blood, very often it is possible. So last year when we did study of athletes, so what we found, majority of the time we found dark red only, because of the oxygen is highly consumed in that cases. Okay, and then it binds after deoxygenated. Once it is oxygen is unbound from the hemoglobin, it binds with the carbon dioxide, and it will become carbaminohemoglobin. See here, if the carbon dioxide and ammonia, these two are binding, carbamino hemoglobin is formed. Otherwise, if it is not carbon dioxide and ammonia, if it is only carbon dioxide, it will become carboxyhemoglobin. That is the structure and functions of hemoglobin is concerned. And if you see the hematopoiesis, that is production of hemoglobin. As I told you, they are produced in RBC. There's a bone marrow cells, bone marrow, and there is a reticular connective tissue, and blood cyanoids are there. There, the production of RBC will be taking place. And in case of adults, that is found in the axial skeleton and girdles and the proximal epiphysis of humerus and femur. Like these are in humerus and femur. Humerus is your arm bone. Femur is your leg bone. In this one, it is there in the axial skeleton, and like girdles. It is there, this particular tissue, or which is connective tissue, and blood cyanoids. In the sinks, the production is taking place. And hemopoietic stem cells are the mother cells for formation of all the elements, all the cells of blood. And hormone and growth factors influences here which type of cell should be produced. So there is a hemopoietic hemocytoblast, it is called as. Hemocytoblast is a precursor for all type of cells, but the differentiation is dependent based on the growth factors or hormones. This depending on the influence from outside, different types of cells are produced. And here and once one type of cell lineage is produced, once one type of cell lineage is produced, that will retain over there, and it cannot go back. We'll see in detail of that. And once this blood cells are produced, they will enter into the, through cyanides, blood cyanides, they will enter into the circulatory system. And if you take the I think if there is an image, I can explain you. Yeah, this is better. So stages are concerned. First, myeloid stem cells transformed into the pro-erythroblast cells. You see here, it will be easy for you to remember instead of going into it. There will be a stem cell in the beginning. See, stem cell can be converted into any type of cells. It can give to any type of cells. So in the first phase, hemopoietic stem cells or hemocytoblast cells, they will be produced into the pro-erythroblast cells. Once it is a pro-erythroblast cells, now it is a committed cells. It cannot be converted into some other cell. It cannot be converted to neuro cells, or it cannot be produced into the osteoblast cells, or it cannot be produced into epithelial cells. Once it is converted into pro-erythroblast cells, that is a committed cell. It cannot go back. But see, from pro-erythroblast cells, still will be able to produce different type of cells. They are all from the circulatory, like blood cells only, not something else. So from this one, I think nobody will join now. We'll make a presentation. Okay. From pro-erythroblast cells, Phase 1, ribosome synthesis starts, and now it is called as basophilic erythroblast cells. It is called as basophilic erythroblast cells. Ribosomes are there now, and they starts the protein synthesis. So precursors of RBC are capable of doing everything, but RBC cannot do anything. And in the second phase, hemoglobin. See, once the ribosomes assembles over there, and protein synthesis starts, then like hemoglobin synthesis starts over there. So you will be getting a, see, still heme has not occurred. What you call, retained over there. So it will be protein cells, but it is not having a red color. It is polychromatic, huge color. And then as gradually the color gets reduced, okay, and then ejection of nucleus will be disappearing from there. Once after that one, the reticulocytes, it will take that's what you call heme component. It will synthesize the heme component and iron into it, and it will be produced into the erythrocyte cells. This is how see, ribosome synthesis, hemoglobin synthesis, ejection of nucleus. These are the 3 steps that are taking place to produce the, what you call, your RBC. Young RBCs are produced, and these young RBCs now they are shifted into cyanides. And once they are shifted into cyanides, gradually ribosomes or your ribosomes completely degrades over there. And once it is degrade, the what happened? Reticulate count indicates the RBC form. This is one indication. So is it the continuous RBC are produced? What is the lifespan of RBC? Lifespan, see, it is 100 to 120 days. 120 days in man. In man, it is a 120 days. And see, what if RBCs are too less? Like if a person is anemic, or if you got some viral infections, because of some viruses do attach with the membrane of RBC, so RBCs gets reduced. Even platelets also in that case. Okay, all platelets are having capacity to bind with the virus membrane. That's what whenever there is a dengue or some viral diseases, platelets gets reduced. And here, this if the RBCs gets reduced, then the oxygen carrying capacity will be reduced, so that it leads into the hypoxia. Oxygen carrying capacity will be reduced, so the oxygen availability to your tissue gets reduced. And see, similar situation when you go to the hill regions, there the oxygen potential, hemoglobin is there, RBC is there insufficient in your body, but the oxygen available in the atmosphere is going to be very much reduced. There also still, even though RBC is in sufficient amount, still leads into the hypoxia. Okay, if suppose too much of RBC is produced, still it leads into the viscosity. What happens if there is a viscosity? See, clumps will be formed, free flow of blood does not take place, and cyanides will be blocked. That should not happen. Okay, if there is a viscous blood if it is too viscous, then its normal activities of gases exchange does not take place. It will be impaired, or it will be disturbed. It may not be, see, earlier it is doing 100%, now it will maybe doing 40 to 60%. Okay, and see here, more than 2 million RBCs are made per second. So there should be a balance. Almost equal amount of RBC is degraded. Okay, destruction is taking place. To make the balance, the same thing should be degraded. So there is a hormonal control here. The requirement, see, the RBC requirement and it's a degradation, both are hormonal control. And adequate supplies of iron, amino acids, and B vitamins, especially folic acid and vitamin B12. Vitamin B12 is very much required for heme moiety synthesis. Heme moiety synthesis, and iron is also required for it. Amino acids are required for polypeptide alpha and beta chain synthesis. And hormonal, as we said, hormonal influence is very important thing. Erythropoietin is a one hormone which actually directly influences the erythropoiesis process. And erythropoietin is a small molecular weight soluble hormone. It is a protein hormone basically, and it requires very small amount, and the basal quantity is maintained in case of your blood. And sorry, it is not small molecular weight. It is of high molecular weight. It is not small. Okay, and high RBC and oxygen level depresses your erythropoietin production. It is a hormone. Hormones are generally controlled by the signals. So the signal for this is high RBC or oxygen content. And see, this erythropoietin is released kidney whenever there is a hypoxia, but in some cases it is a liver. And generally in pediatric stage, liver plays very important role, but when adult, kidney plays a very important role. And that's what whenever the dialysis patients, as I told you, it is at high molecular weight. When you are doing the dialysis, there is filtration of impurities. So high molecular weight compounds this is also separated in waste, which erythropoietin. That's what after every dialysis or every alternative dialysis, erythropoietin injection is given to the patients, so that erythropoiesis or blood production or RBC production is not impaired. And causes of hypoxia is nothing but the situation of low oxygen to the tissue, and it happens decreased RBC due to different reasons. One could be hemorrhage or blood loss or injury or damage. Second could be destruction. RBC could have damage, and once it is damaged, the liver will tackle it, and otherwise it will go to the spleen. Otherwise, there could be an injury. There would be a vein cut or a hemorrhage, any side. It could be brain hemorrhage or it could be tissue hemorrhage, wherever it may be. And sometimes it could be the insufficient hemoglobin per RBC. See, in one RBC, I told you millions of hemoglobins are there. If suppose RBC is there, but sufficient amount of hemoglobin is not there, that happens because of iron deficiency. That also leads to the hypoxia. And the reduced availability of oxygen, that I told you, high altitude situations like hilly, there also will lead. And the EPO, erythropoietin, in fact, erythropoietin, I worked on this erythropoietin when I was in Shanta Biotech for recombinant erythropoietin production. And it helps in rapid maturation of the committed cells. I told you in the image, there is a committed, see, erythropoietin cells cannot do on the stem cells. From the stem cells, committed cells are there. On the committed cells, see, this committed cells lineage can move into either WBC or RBC. Okay. And they can move committed marrow cells and increase circulatory reticular account, like within 1-2 days, the count of RBC, if it is reduced, this EPO can be increased. And see, some athletes abuses this EPO. See, if the RBC is increased, the oxygen carrying capacity will be increased. So the tiredness and hypoxia will not develop. That's what some people in athletes they abuse. Actually, this is not a steroid. This erythropoietin is not a steroid, so it is not a banned drug. That's what some athletes do abusing is without permission using. But it may lead into dangerous consequence if more amount of erythropoietin is there, more amount of RBC is produced, then blood will become viscous, and sometime it may clot, and it may so the body will become blue and the patient will die. And the other thing, testosterone, this is steroid. It enhances the erythropoietin production. This testosterone is also being taken by the sports persons in order to enhance EPO and then subsequently what you call your RBCs. But this is all dangerous. So first, stimuli, that's oxygen your body will be stimulating whether the oxygen is in sufficient quantity or not. If there is a hypoxia, if less oxygen situation is there, then what happens? It will give a signal. It will give a signal. How the signal is processed? How the signal is processed? Mostly by the cyclic AMP. Mostly cyclic AMP, that we'll discuss in molecular biology later. So this signal is transmitted to the kidney, and kidney and liver cells generally they will produce erythropoietin, that is a very small quantity, and this erythropoietin gives subsequent. Erythropoietin is a hormone. It is produced in the kidney and liver cells, and it is transmitted to the there is a, I told you, humerus and femur head reticulate tissue, where you will be having committed cells, and these committed cells will be converted into the RBC cells, and now the RBCs, they will be increasing the oxygen carrying capacity. Now the hypoxia will be removed. Iron is coming from the diet, and it contributes 60%, 65% in hemoglobin. Rest rest in liver and spleen and bone marrow. What rest? There's iron. Okay, and free iron ions are toxic. This is the one big problem. Free iron ions. Generally, nanomaterials. Nowadays, people are working about a lot about nanomaterials, and these nano items, ferrous and ferric forms, ferrous and ferric forms are not at all harmful, whereas there's a non-charged inert iron particle is very much toxic. In fact, how it is toxic? It binds with the disulfide bonds and it breaks all the protein structures. Even the hemoglobin structure is also lost. That is the concern of utilization of nanomaterials in food materials. Vitamin B12 and folic acids necessary for DNA synthesis for rapid dividing cells, and vitamin B12 especially, it is very important role in heme multiplication. Lifespan 100 to 120 days, and they don't do the protein synthesis. There is no growth, there is no division, and in man it is 120 days. And old RBCs, as they need to travel from the capillaries, several days they are traveling, so they will become fragile, and the membrane, see, as they are not, regeneration capacity is also not there with this RBC cells, so membranes will become fragile, and hemoglobin which is there inside, that gets degenerated. Actually, it is a filled it is a rice bag kind of thing. Many hemoglobin molecules are there inside a bag. So what happened, as the bag is moving from the river, so after some time there is no process of regeneration here. So the rice inside, or whatever the balls or fruits there inside, they gets damaged. The HB gets degenerated. Okay, and these damaged RBCs generally, as they are flowing in the circulatory system, they are captured by the spleen. So spleen filters this. Generally, we call it as a cradle of RBC. And macrophages there in the spleen. Vascular tissue is there in case of your spleen. Macrophages will engulf this RBC and they will regenerate the components like hemoglobin component, iron they will be taking out, and amino acids will be separated out, and they are again recycled. I told you iron is there stored in spleen and liver. So this is how it is storing. And in spleen, heme and globins are separated. Iron is salved for use, and heme degrades to yellow pigment called as bilirubin. Bilirubin, these are the two pigments which are there in case of your liver. And liver secretes this bilirubin into intestines little amount, and see, there is a bile juice it is secreting over there, in which bilirubin, biliverdins are there. And this degraded to pigments bilinogens. Pigments leaves body in the faces in the as stercobilin. That's what the feces will be getting the yellow color. Globin metabolized into the amino acids, released into the circulatory system, and further they are utilized for the protein synthesis. This is a cascade. The oxygen level stimulates erythropoietin production. This is already over. This is its degradation. It will be divided into heme and globin component. Heme component is further divided into bilirubin and iron. Iron is stored in the liver, or it is given further to hemoglobin synthesis. And from globin directly amino acids are produced. That happens in digestion process. And bilirubin in liver, it is converted into I told you in the last slide we have shown you into different pigments, and finally that is released into the feces. Now we'll see some disorders of erythrocytic disorders. Anemia. In this case, the oxygen carrying capacity of blood is reduced. Oxygen carrying capacity of the blood is reduced, and it is a sign rather than a disease. It is a symptom, we can call it as. Sometimes it may be a disease also. Blood levels cannot support normal metabolism, and accompanied by the fatigue. Generally, whenever there is a hypoxia, you will get fatigue, pallor, shortness of breath, and chills also sometimes do happen. Generally, this hypoxia situation we will face whenever you are going to the hilly region. Otherwise, after the vigorous exercise, because whatever the oxygen is there in your body, that gets exhausted. And even in the evening time also, see, that's a complete whatever RBC, because of its anaerobic respiration, it is doing accumulation of lactic acid in the body, and this lactic acid accumulation leads to the fatigue. So causes of anemia, three types, three reasons. One, loss of blood. It could be cycles, menstrual cycle, or stabbing, or cut, or hemorrhage, whatever it could be. Second, low RBC production. If erythropoiesis is less, there could be many regions. And high RBC destruction. High RBC destruction. See, low RBC production, we'll see. You must have heard about blood cancer. In blood cancer, what happens here? The specific types of cells, see, the committed cell, whatever the committed erythropoietic cell is there, erythroblast cell is there, it is produced, but it is not shifted into the RBC or specific cells. It is converted into abnormal cells. Something else is produced than that of fewer required cells. That's why the low RBC is produced. That is one reason. Okay. And high RBC destruction, this could be what you call your malaria. Due to the malaria, malaria parasite will enter into the RBC in erythroblastic cells cycle. It will enter into it and it will destroy lot of what you call hemoglobin is taken up. Like this, there are many hemoglobin or RBC growing bacteria or pathogens where the RBC is restricted. This is one. But there are some physiological conditions also which may lead into the destruction of RBC, which will lead into the anemia. And hemorrhagic anemia, blood loss rapid, like stab or wound. This is a hemorrhagic anemia, as the word indicates, and this will be treated with replacement of blood. You are supposed to transfuse the blood to the patient. And chronic hemorrhagic anemia, slight but persistent blood loss. Let's see, ulcers or what you call your piles. Here, There is not huge loss, but there is a slight loss. It is hemorrhoids. In case of your stomach, sometimes what happen, small hemorrhoid is produced and that goes on continuously leaking the blood, and small ulcers also, they will be continuously leading into the formation of this chronic hemorrhagic anemia. This should be addressed. Okay. And primary, this whatever the problem of see that primary loss of blood should be treated in this case, otherwise it will become very dangerous. Iron deficiency anemia caused by the hemorrhagic anemia, low iron intake or impaired absorption. And microcytic uh, hypochromic RBC. Hypochromic in the sense it will be pale color. If you see the generally the doctors will see for this one through the capillaries color in your eyes. If the capillaries are white or light reddish in color, generally we consider as a iron deficiency or hypochromic RBCs. Iron supplement is required in this case. Iron, iron sulfate is provided. Generally, this iron sulfate is not easily metabolized. It is not easily breaks down into iron and sulfate. So it accumulates in the stomach. And what happens whenever there is salt accumulates, in order to maintain the balance, a lot of fluid will enter into the stomach, and it will lead in, whenever there is a huge amount of water, it will lead into the vomitings. That's what pregnant women, whoever are taking iron sulfate tablets, they will, and whoever are not able to digest this iron, digestion in the sense splitting into iron plus sulfate, they will lead into this vomitings. And that could be a hormonal issue also. Sometimes it could be a hormonal issue also. And that hormonal issue will not, our hormone will not promote the absorption of iron that easy. So what you should do, easily iron, this iron ascorbate is there, iron citrate is there. Iron ascorbate is the best one. It is a bit expensive. That's what government farms does not supply it, but it is a more effective. Pernicious anemia. Pernicious, as the term indicates, what happens here? Nutritious. Okay, this is an autoimmune disease, destroys stomach mucosa. So lack of intrinsic factors needed for absorption of B12. So vitamin B12 deficiency is taking place. So RBC cannot divide. Macrocytes are accumulating over there. Treated with B12 injection or nasal or B12 tablets or nasal gels are available in this case. Also causes by the low dietary B12, like vegetarians. See, vitamin B12 is not there in vegetarian food. It is produced by the microorganisms. In fact, Streptomyces produces huge, and there's what is the pimple causing bacteria? Propionibacterium shermani. Propionibacterium acne produces the pimples, but it's similar ancestor, like sister concern. Propionibacterium hansenii shermani. Shermani produces B12 at large scale. So generally that is being used for the industrial B12 production. And renal anemia, that is because of lack of EPO, erythropoietin, often accompanies renal diseases treated with synthetic EPO. We need to inject it. Aplastic anemia. Aplastic anemia is nothing but it is a one type of cancer. Here, destruction or inhibition of red marrow by drugs, chemicals, whenever you do this kind of treatment, viruses also happens here. Usually, there could be many reasons, but effective mechanism is not known. Here, there's whatever the committed cell is there, from the committed cells, that lineage, the passage through path does not take place. So something, it accumulates in between. All cell line, see, anemia, clotting, and immunity, all like see, WBC is reduced, RBC is reduced, and your platelet cells are reduced in this case. So the best is, what you need to do here, time being, we need to do the transfusion. For long term, you need to do the stem cells transfer. If you have any matching groups like brothers and sisters or parents, you need to transfer the mother cell stem cells. So again, they will be producing the progenitors. or committed cells, and from there you'll be having, but the success rate is very less. Hemolytic anemia. Hemolytic anemia, premature RBC, like I told you, generally in human beings, the lifespan of RBC is 120 days. As it transfers through the capillaries, in after 120 days, its membrane loses its integrity, and that makes that content, the hemoglobin which is there inside, which will be coming out. Whereas in some cases, there's the RBC will be lysed prematurely without aging. It starts lysing. There could be several reasons for it. One could be hemoglobin abnormalities, abnormal synthesis of hemoglobin, incompatible transfusion. This is a common reason, but generally we don't do. But if you do the transfusion, this is also one of the reasons. And infections also will lead into the premature RBC lysis. And genetic basis of abnormal hemoglobin. This is a reason of hemoglobin. Here, fragile RBCs lyse prematurely. If what is it? Proline. If the proline is inserted in hemoglobin, it will become fragile. It will become rigid, and it is lysed very easily. And Thalassemus disease, I think it's genetical, you must have studied a lot. Typically it is called as Mediterranean ancestry, and one globin chain absent or faulty, in this case thalassemus chain, and RBC is thin and delicate, deficient in hemoglobin, and many subtypes are there in that one. Severity from mild to severe there is there. And there is a sickle cell anemia. There is a one amino acid difference here, arginine to glutamine. So what happens here, that RBCs will become crescent when they are taking the one second. Okay. Sickle cell anemia, I told you there is hemoglobin S, or sensitive hemoglobin, or sickle hemoglobin. It is not double concave. It is concave from one side only. So one side which is non-concave, if the hemoglobin binds over there, it will become convex. See, actually, sickle cell anemia will be something like this, like your palm. One side it is a concave, other side is plain. Whenever the hemoglobin binds over there, it will be pulling like this. So it will become fragile. The cells will become fragile. Hemoglobin will become fragile. So that what happened? It ruptures. It causes ruptures, and this rupturing will basically its oxygen carrying capacity is less. And one more thing, whenever it is ruptured, vessels are blocked. Small vessels are blocked, and vessels are blocked. Whenever the vessels are blocked, it will lead into the pain. And the black peoples of African malarial belt and their descendants, generally they don't have what is this is a bit contradictory. Okay, we'll see later. The malaria has come here, and so the malaria, there are some people who are not getting the malaria. Even forgot about Andaman Nicobar. This is African Malabar people, malaria people. But in Andaman Nicobar, they don't get malaria because this RBC, they don't have a receptor for taking this malarial parasite. Same thing like Africans also. And malaria kills, almost 1 million each year. And sickle cell anemia, people also does not get infection of malaria because the membrane is disturbed in this case. And if generally if it is homozygous, both the copies are sickle cell genes, then it is expressed, and severe disease will be there, and you can see the anemia very clear. Whereas if it is a one copy, like one will be the sickle cell, is like half of the DNA, your hemoglobin will be DNA, and the other will protein, remaining will be the normal. In that case, what happens? Milder disease, like they can tolerate, but if they go to the hilly region, or if they are having some congestion or respiratory diseases, it will be difficult to overcome from them, or pneumonia or something, it will be very difficult for them. And for this heterozygous people, the chances of recovery from malaria is going to be very high. And the Andaman Nicobar people and African people, it is believed that they are having the heterozygous for sickle cell anemia gene, hemoglobin gene. That's what they are having the resistance towards the what you call your sickle cell anemia. So what should be the treatment? What you need to do, the treated with transfusions, you need to do the blood transfusion, and then they should inhale nitrous oxide. What is the use of nitrous oxide? What is the use of nitrous oxide? It is also called as laughing gas. And nitric oxide, when a person is inhaling the nitrous oxide, what happens here? Sickling, somehow sickling will be prevented over there. Hydroxyurea induced fetal hemoglobin, which does not stick formation, blocking RBC ion channels, stem cell transplantation, gene therapy. These are the some of methods of preventing the sickle cell anemia. You see here, in normal case, sixth position, glutamic acid should be there. If this glutamic acid is there, then it will be biconcave. See here, it is a biconcave. If it is shifted to the valine or glutamine, mostly valine or sometimes glutamine. So if the glutamic acid is not there, see, amine is different and glutamic acid, NH3 group is different and carboxyl group is different. So this glutamic acid, if it is replaced with the valine, then it will lose its shape. Single amino acid is responsible for it. Sixth position, glutamic acid versus valine. And polycythemic vera, bone marrow cancer, this excess RBCs are produced and severely induced by increases the blood viscosity. And second there is a polycythemia, and secondary polycythemia, less oxygen availability or EPO production increases, higher RBC count, and it could be the reason of blood doping. That is about RBC. Erythrocytes. Almost we took 1 hour for it. Just will take a 2 minutes break. Now, leukocytes, see, erythrocytes, now it is What, Upinder joining after 1 hour? Half of the session is over. Okay. Leukocytes contributes less than 1%. It is very less contribution in number, but in functional wise, they contributes a lot. Generally, we count them in cell sizes. Okay, generally it is 4,500 to around 11,000 WBCs are there per microliters of blood. It is 4,500 to it is around 11,000, 4,800 to 10,800. But okay, functions in different type of defense activities, and they can leave the capillaries via diapetes, like due to the lobopodia kind of thing. They will travel from the capillaries, so they will migrate into the tissues, as well as they will be there in the circulatory system also. Move through the tissue spaces by amoeboid motions and positive chemotoxis. Whenever the chemical response is there, they will migrate from it. WBC count over, leukocytosis more than 11,000 is called as leukocytosis. Normal response whenever there is infection against the infection, you will be getting the more number of WBCs, that is called as leukocytosis. And if suppose the number increases more than 11,000, we should take it as a infection, whatever it may be. And basically there are two types, granulocytes and agranulocytes. And these granules are visible cytoplasmic granules. Basically they are either acidic or basic, or sometimes even neutral also. Based on their nature, they are divided into different types: neutrophils, eosinophils, basophils. Neutrophils are having the, how do you know that they are neutral or acidic or basic? Based on the dye we are using. So if it is a basophils, they are basic in nature, so we can stain them with acidic stains. And eosinophils, they are acidic, and we can stain them with the basic stains. Neutrophils, we can stain them with the neutral dyes. That's how we divide. The charge which is there on the surface of these granules decides what kind of cells are they. So there are three types: granulocytes, neutrophils, eosinophils, and basophils. We'll see later in detail about those things. Agranulocytes, there is no cytoplasmic granules in this case. So basically there are two types: lymphocytes and monocytes. And already we have shown you the image, but we'll see in detail later. And what happened? Decreasing abundance in the blood never lets monkeys eat bananas. Did you understand this? Never let monkeys eat banana. Did you follow something? Hmm? See, the decreasing neutrophils is the highest, monocytes is the next, eosinophils is the next, basophils is the next. This is a decreasing order. Don't think that when you travel, when you go outside, don't feed the monkeys with banana. That is not the sentence here. Here, just to remember that the number of cells which are highest. Neutrophils are highest, and then lymphocytes, then monocytes, then eosinophils, then basophils. So the formed cells, if you are taking, that's erythrocytes contributes a lot, then leukocytes, platelets, and leukocytes that is when you do the centrifugation, the buffy coat is formed, and here along with the leukocytes, in fact, platelets also will be contributing to the buffy coat. And in this one, if you see, what is this? Granulocytes, neutrophils are 50 to 70%, eosinophils are 2 to 4%, basophils they are very less in number, 0.5 to 1%. Lymphocytes, actually, neutrophils are required for phagocytosis, and lymphocytes are required for actually natural killer T cells are there, and antibody producing B cells are there. These two places are very important, neutrophils, and after N, then L, then followed by which monocytes are also there. Monocytes also, see, macrophages are nothing but monocyte cells. These monocyte cells will easily pass through the capillaries, and they will, like, normally neutrophils, what they will do, they will be cellular form in blood, and they will be engulfing whenever there is a pathogen or something enters into it. These monocytes, they will show the peristaltic movement, and they will penetrate into the tissues, and whenever there is a pathogen or something is there in tissue, they will be engulfing that one. Almost both job is same. Granulocytes. See, this is a specialization part for you. That's what we are going in detail. Don't feel hesitate. And granulocytes, they are larger and short-lived than that of RBCs, and lobed nuclei is there in that one. Cytoplasmic granules stain specifically with bright stain, and all phagocytic to some degree. So neutrophils, these are the most abundant. I told you in the last 60-70%, yeah, 50 to 70% is nothing but the neutrophils. Neutrophils are there here. And as they are having the polymorphonuclear, the nuclear lobe is multi-lobed one. That's what it is called as polymorphonuclear, or polys, they are also called as PMN cells. Neutrophils are also called as polymorphonucleocytes, neutrophils are polys. And the granule stain, lilac, the color contains hydrolytic enzymes and defensins. Here the granules are nothing but defensins, and there are some hydrolytic enzymes are also. And 3 to 6 lobes are present generally, and twice size of RBCs. So RBC size is around 8 micron. So this measures around 15 to 16 micron, and very phagocytic. So they are easy to eat the bacteria. That's what bacterial slayers. They are easy to engulf the bacteria. And whenever there is infection, neutrophil number increases. And eosinophils, whenever there is an allergy, eosinophils will increase. Eosinophil, complete blood picture you must have seen, sometimes like hemogram, otherwise it is called as. So neutrophil number increases whenever there is an infection, and whenever there is a bacteria or pathogen enters in your body, then neutrophils increases. And eosinophils, whenever there is allergy, when a physiological response is there, so in such cases eosinophil number increases. And these, see, that's neutrophils will be iliac color, that is a tan color it is, and these eosinophils takes red color, and they are bilobed, whereas neutrophils multilobed. And granules are here nothing but lysosomes. Lysosomes like release enzymes to digest. There's a parasitic worms, role in allergy and asthma, role in modulating immune response. So whenever there is allergy, this eosinophils releases lysosomes as well as mast cells, and this mast cells releases the histamine, which will cause the localized response, some redness or itching or something like that. Basophils, these are the rarest, they are less in number. Basophils, rarest WBC, there's very less number. And nucleus deep purple, first iliac color or tan color, second red color, and this basophils deep purple color with 1 to 2 constraints, the constrictions. This lobed, 1 to 2 lobes are there in this one. One lobe may be there, one lobe is there, then bilobed. If the two constraints are there, it is a trilobe. 2 to 3 lobes are there, and there is a large purplish black basophil granules are present, and they contain these things also contains the basophils. Histamine, inflammatory chemical that acts as a vasodilator. Are functionally similar to the mast cells. This you can see this is the neutrophil where 3 lobes are there, and you can see the color is tan color or iliac color. It is also called as. And this is a eosinophil. Eosinophil basically the cell will be stained red color, but the nucleus will be the bluish color or navy blue color something. And this is a basophil, which is a dark navy blue color. And here you can see lobes are small or multi, like there are many. Granulocytes, they don't have the granules in them, lack visible, and here they will be having the only clear cytoplasmic fluid. So nucleus and cytoplasm can be easily separated in this case. Okay, have spherical or kidney shaped nuclei in this case. And lymphocytes, and I told you after neutrophils, the most abundant cells are second most, that is the WBC is nothing but lymphocytes. And they are large, dark purple color, circular nuclei with thin rim of blue cytoplasm. Means cytoplasm is less, your nuclear material is very high. Nuclear is very high, whereas cytoplasm is very less, and that too it is very clear, transparent. Mostly lymphoid tissue like lymph nodes and spleen, and free circulatory in blood. Mostly this lymphoids, this lymphocytes, they are stacked or they are stored in lymph nodes and spleen. And whenever there is their need is there, whenever there is infection, whenever you need to produce antibodies, then they will be loaded into the circulatory system. Few circulate into blood. There is a thing, whereas the remaining are stored in spleen and spleen nodes, and whenever there is a need, they will be pushed into the circulatory system, and they are very crucial in immune system. There are two types again: T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes. T lymphocytes against that's viruses, infected cells, and tumor cells. T lymphocytes. Why? We'll see later. And B lymphocytes give rise to plasma cells, which produces antibodies. See, this T lymphocyte cells, you will be having the T killer cells and T helper cells. T killer cells, they will identify the pathogen and they will try to kill there. They will try to kill. And T helper cells, they will give that cell, they will bind the cells and they will give it to the B cells. And B cells will what you call it? They will sense that antigen and they will try to produce the antibody. So this is the difference in between these two. Next, monocytes. Monocytes are the largest in case of your WBCs. Abundant pale blue cytoplasm is there. Dark purple stained U or kidney shaped nuclei is there in this case. Monocytes leave circulation, enter tissue, and I told you that macrophages will be formed. This monocytes, actually, this is third largest cells after the neutrophils and lymphocytes. Monocytes are there. Neutrophils are taking care of phagocytosis in case of your circulatory system, liquid tissue, whereas this monocytes, whenever there is a need, they will percolate or they will transport into the tissue and through the lobopodia or pseudopodia, and they will be converted into macrophages. And they will see viruses could enter into, see, there is no rule that they will be coming into the direct circulatory system. They may be into the tissue. So in that cases, these macrophages will engulf them and they will try to eliminate. See, whatever the neutrophilic activities in blood is taking place, the same activities are done by the macrophages or directly monocytes in case of your tissues. and activate lymphocytes to mount an immune response. So again, in tissue, like see, T helper cells, whatever the job they are doing, here the monocytes also will do the same job. So granulocytes, granules, these are the lymphocytes. You can see the nucleus is very large. You can see a round shaped large nucleus is there in case of lymphocytes. You can see this is monocytes. Monocytes, only one thing that you should differentiate here also, the nucleus is very large, but it is lobed. It is a bilobed. See here the cytoplasm has entered. Whereas in that case, monocytes only C-shaped. See, this is a C-shaped cytoplasm is there. Whereas here you will be having a lobed nucleus. That's what we can differentiate these two things. And in size-wise, the monocytes are also larger to your lymphocyte cells. And leukopoiesis, that is erythropoiesis. Earlier we discussed. Now, leukopoiesis, the production of RBC cells. Sorry, WBC cells. And here stimulates by two types of chemical messengers from the red bone marrow and mature WBCs. That is called as interleukins. Interleukins, there are the large number of interleukins are there, IL-1, IL-2, IL-3, IL-4, up to 50 we are having different interleukins. Especially here, interleukin 3, interleukin 5 plays very important role, and another one, colony stimulating factor. Colony stimulating, actually this is also recombinant produced. Interleukins are also recombinant produced. Colony stimulating factors named for the WBC type of stimulating, like granulocyte colony stimulating factor, and stimulates the granulocytes. This particular granulocyte stimulating factor, it stimulates the granulocytes. Granulocytes, you know that neutrophils, basophils, eosinophils. Okay, all leukocytes originate from there's a hemocytoblast cells. There is a common factor is there here, and lymphoid cells, stem cells. That, see, one second. This hemocytoblast cell will be converted into dedicator cells. They are now lymphoid stem cells or myeloid stem cells. Okay, lymphoid stem cells will be producing into lymphocytes, and myeloid stem cells will be producing into different other things. Okay, here the process is concerned. Myeloblast cells will produce into the promyeloblast cells, myelocytes, and there will be a band, and then it will be giving into a mature cell. And this granulocytes are stored in, see, all WBCs are stored in bone marrow. As per our requirement, they will be shifted into the blood. 3 times more WBCs are produced than the RBCs, but they are having short lifespan, and because of they need to fight the microbes. Their lifespan, not only this fighting the microbes, by structure arrangements also, they are not stable, so they get easily degraded. So progression of agranulocyte differs, like for different types of cells. The progression of maturation differs. Monocyte, there's a live several months, share common precursors with neutrophils. See, functions are same, and basically structurally they are different. That's it. So they shares the antigens on the surface also, and even the production process also the same. They shares the common. Here, monoblast cells, promonocytes, and monocytes are produced from this one. And lymphocytes, this lymphoid stem cells will be turned into T lymphocytes. Precursors travel to thymus, and T lymphocyte precursors will travel into thymus. B lymphocyte precursors will go into the bone marrow, and there they will be gets matured. This is actually, I'll keep it in the presentation mode. Yeah. Hemopoietic, the stem cell, that hemocytoblast cell, the same thing which produces your RBC, hemocytoblast cell. Okay, it will be based on the signal, or interleukin present or colony stimulating factor. based on the what happened, it will be turned into myeloid stem cells or lymphoid stem cells. This myeloid stem cells will become what different types of myeloblast cells. Okay, and lymphoid stem cells will give into the lymphocytes. Again, B lymphocyte precursor, T lymphocyte precursor. B lymphocyte gives to B lymphocytes, and T lymphocyte precursor gives to T lymphocytes. They will be matured and they will be doing their functions. And here, myeloid stem cells, here myeloblast cells are committed cells. They cannot go back. Okay, they cannot go back. See, one myeloid stem cell can be produced into different types of cells, but one type of myeloblast cells, once it is produced into the one type, it cannot go into the other type of things. It is committed cells, like we have seen in case of RBC also. So what happens initially, the ribosomes accumulates over there, that is promyelocytes, and then what happened, nuclear lobing will be taking place. And see, due to after the protein synthesis, the different granules are synthesized. Different granules, the acidic granule or basic granule or neutral granule, then we call them eosinophilic myelocyte, basophilic myelocyte, neutrophilic myelocyte. Now as the after the granules are synthesized, then what happened, they will be like maturation. Gradually the maturation starts from there. After the maturation, you will be getting eosinophils, basophils, neutrophils. And here in this case, this monoblast cells, as the granule synthesis is not required, granules are not required in this case, directly they will be shifted into the monocyte cells. And these monocytes, if they enters into the tissue, they will be turned into the macrophagous tissue. Okay, this is a summary of the entire WBC. Now disorders. Now disorders of leukocytes or WBCs. First, leukopenia. Abnormal or low WBC count is called as leukopenia. Just generally, it could be a drug induced, or it could be, see, sometimes wantedly we do reduce this WBC count. Whenever there is like after the kidney transplant, when you don't want the graft rejection in such cases. And leukemias, all fatal if untreated, and the cancer overproduction of abnormal WBC, named according to the abnormal WBC clone involved. Myeloid leukemia involves myeloblast descent, like it's the initial from the parent stage itself. If it is having a problem, we call it as a myeloid leukemia. And lymphocytic leukemia involves lymphocyte. There's the lymphocyte deficiency. So here in this case, defending system is compromised, but person can survive. Oxygen carrying capacity will be normal, but myeloid leukemia, see, myeloid leukemia, basically neutrophils are not there in this case. In lymphocytes, T and B cells are not there in this case. Okay, both are having their own problem. Acute leukemia derives from stem cells, primary affects children. Chronic leukemia more prevalent in older people. And cancerous leukocytes fill red bone marrow, so that everything will be abnormal there. Other lines crowded out, and anemia that it leads, and it leads into bleeding. Immature non-functional WBC in bloodstream, death from the internal hemorrhage, overwhelming infections, treatment. This irritation people will try. They will try to kill the abnormal things. So due to mutations, they will expect that this lineage, whatever the abnormal lineage is there, that will be converted into normal thing, but not so easy. Interleukins are being used, so they will try to give the signaling for proper synthesis. Stem cell transplantation is the best option for this one, but again, histocompatibility and other issues are there. And infectious mononucleosis, highly contagious viral disease, that is Epstein-Barr virus. High number of typical agranulocytes are produced. Symptoms: tired, achy, rashes, chronic sore throat, low fever, runs this runs course with rest. This with rest it may be treated. Platelets. And third category of cells generally we have in first is RBC, second is WBC, third is platelets. Platelets are nothing but they are the cytoplasmic fragments of megakaryocytes. Megakaryocytes, their blue stained outer region, purple granules are there in them. Granules contain serotonin plus calcium, other enzymes, ADP, and platelet derived growth factors. And this calcium is required for what? Cell signaling as well as blood clotting. Serotonin is required for growth as well as serotonin is required for serotonin is a growth hormone, and as well as it is required for cell elongation. And ATP is output for outcome of energy metabolism. And see, platelet derived growth factors are also there, which will be helpful in your blood clotting and acts in clotting process. This thing, normal range. See, everybody must be aware this one because of this dengue and several viral diseases, even COVID case also. So, how much this thing should be there? Nobody will. How much is there? 15 lakhs to 40 lakhs. 15 lakhs to 15 lakhs, 15 lakhs to 40 lakhs per ml platelet count should be there. Generally, what happens whenever there is a dengue, this number of this platelets shoots down very less, despite of treatment, antiviral treatment, whatever you do, because already whatever the virus protein is there, that will bind with this platelet cells and it will be neutralized, and this shoots down from 15 lakhs. It will come somewhere around 10,000. Like generally we will get scared, and once it goes gradually, it comes up. See, once the patient gets dengue infection or any viral infection, from 15 lakhs, see, normal level maintains around 30-35 lakhs. From 30-35 lakhs, gradually it reduces, and by the time the patient is getting severe fever, dengue fever or any viral fever, then it comes down to around 15 to 20 lakhs, then goes to 15, 10, suddenly it shoots to the 10,000. And from there, it maintains for some time. And then once it is maintained over there for some, because even though the platelets are being produced, still the antigens are there in the body. That antigens will nullify that whatever the platelets are being produced. And once it is produced, gradually the number increases from 10,000 to, because by that time your immune system has tackled the virus. Now it will increase, but it takes around 15 days time. So generally when a patient is admitted, we are very much worried because of the platelet counts. Form temporary platelet plug that helps seal break in blood vessels. So they will make a temporary plug kind of thing. Circulatory platelet kept inactive and mobile by nitric oxide and what is this, prostacyclin from the endothelial cells lining blood vessels. See, the hemo what do you call that? The hemostasis, maintaining of blood clotting process. There is uniform equilibrium of blood. It should not be clotted. It should not be completely. See, suppose there is an injury, it should clot over there. So, in order to maintain, there is a kinetis. You require platelet cells over there as well as anticoagulant agent also. So, what happens here? The platelet cells are made inactive by nitric oxide. Nitric oxide does not allow the functioning of platelet cells, so that and even the prostacyclins as well as endothelial cells, they does not permit the platelet cells to clot over there. If there is an injury, if there is a signal for its clotting, then this prostacyclins will disappear, nitric acid will disappear, then the clotting process will be taking place. And Generally, these platelet cells, they degrades very fast within 10 days. So if it is a dengue, you need to get new cells only, new platelets only. We don't call it them as cells. So formation of regulation by thrombopoietin. Thrombopoietin is very important for this one. Derived from the megalokaryoblast cells, and mitosis, but not cytokinesis, is taking place here. Megalokaryocytes, large cell with multi-lobe nucleuses are there here. You can see stem cells. The stem cells, hemopoietic stem cells, that will be converted into first megalokaryoblast cells. That's this is what you call committed cells. Then megalokaryocyte stage 2 and 3 will be taking place here in this case. Just what happened? Cytoplasm will be having a lot of granules, and the fragmentation do takes place here. Megalokaryotic, and after the fourth stage, it will be broken down into several pieces that are nothing but platelet cells. That is of three different types of formed cells that so far we have discussed. RBC we have discussed, WBCs we have discussed, and the next is platelet cells. If you summarize these three things, RBCs are biconcave anucleated discs and salmon colored. There is a red color, and they measure 7 to 8 micrometers, and the size, the number 4 to 6 millions, and adult, there is a developmental time required is about 15 days, and their lifespan is 100 to 120 days in man, in normal adult. Functions: transport of oxygen and carbon dioxide. That's very well known. Leukocytes, they are spherical nucleated cells, and their number measures how much? 45,000 to 11,000. Now, that is here, there is a mistake here. No, sorry, 4,500 to 11,000. And granulocytes, neutrophils, eosinophils, basophils. Neutrophils are multi-lobed. They are having multiple lobes in that the size 10 to 12 microns, and the number is 3,000 to 7,000. And developmental time 14 days, lifespan is 6 hours to few days. And the main job is phagocytosis in blood. Eosinophils, bilobed red cytoplasmic granules. The size is 10 to 14 microns, and 100 to 400 per microliters of blood. Maturation 14 days, lifespan 5 days. Kills parasitic worms and allergic response, asthma. Basophils, bilobed, large cells, and they are having 10 to 14 size. They are very rare. They are 20 to 50 number in per microliter, and maturation is bit fast, 1 to 7 days, and a few hours to few days lifespan. They release histamines, localized responses. Lymphocytes, granulocytes, there are two types: lymphocytes and monocytes. Lymphocytes are smaller and unlobed and spherical, and there is a C-shaped cytoplasm will appear over there. The size is 5 to 17 microns, and number is 1500 to 3000 per microliter, and days to weeks times required for maturation, and lifespan is hours to years. Some, because plasma cells, they are having years of lifespan. B cells, even T cells also. And mount the immune response, they plays very important role. Cytotoxic immune response as well as humoral immune response. Monocytes, here they are very large in size, 14 to 24 in size, and see the C are kidney shaped. There's a nuclear lobe is there, and they are more in size, 100 to 700, and they play similar role of neutrophils, but not in blood. They are in tissue, so they gets percolated into the tissue, and they will become macrophages, and they will do the phagocytosis. And maturation takes place 2 to 3 days, and the lifespan is months. And platelet cells, they are fragments actually, cytoplasmic fragments containing granules, stained deep purple color, and they are very small, 2 to 4 microns in size, and the number is 15 lakhs to 40 lakhs, and the formation takes place in 4 to 5 days, and lifespan is 5 to 10 days. And even if the physiological conditions does not promote, actually they are maintained in the blood in the form of plugs. They are responsible for blood clotting. So hemostasis. Shall I complete? What is the time? 15 minutes time is there. This is a small topic only. Okay. We'll see, because another 15 minutes time is there. We'll do the actually this should be hemostasis should be a cup, like it should be continued with clotting, but I will do brief hemostasis today, and in next class we'll go for clotting process. Hemostasis is maintaining of circulating blood. You should maintain the circulating blood without loss. Okay, and whenever there is a loss or blood injury, it should be stopped over there. And so you require free flow as well as clotting when it is required. So you have three processes in this one. The first, vasospasm, vascular spasm. Spasm is nothing but getting fluid, water over there. Platelet plug formation and coagulation. These three processes are there. In this one, we'll discuss vascular spasm and platelet plug formation. And okay, we'll see. So vascular spasm, and whenever there is a vasoconstriction of damaged blood vessel, when a vasoconstriction is blood construction of our blood, what is it? The sorry, the muscles are contracted. So if the muscles are contracted, then what happens? The lumen of blood vessel will become shorter. That is called as vasoconstriction. Vaso is blood vessel. Constriction is becoming narrow. And here it is triggered by the direct injury to the vascular smooth muscles and chemicals released by the endothelial cells, platelets, and pain reflexes. This will causes the contraction of blood vessels, these muscles which are there in the lumen. Then it causes the vasoconstriction. Damage, and it also leads to see, that is happening because of the endothelial damage to the endothelium exposed to the collagen fibers. Platelet sticks to the collagen fiber via plasma protein and swell and become spiked and sticky and release as chemical messengers. And ADP and serotonins are released over there. Reinforces platelet plug with the fibrin threads, and blood transformed from the liquid to the gel, and series of reactions using the clotting process. That here, whenever there is a cut, suppose there is a cut over here, then what happens? These muscles starts contracting. Then it will lead into vasoconstriction. Once it is a vasoconstricted over there, then what happened? It leads, the platelet plug will be formed, collagen will be coming over there. Once the collagen comes over there, what happens here? It will attract the platelet cells. Once the platelet cells are attracting to the collagen fiber, a temporary plaque kind of thing, initially it will not stop over there, but then serotonin and ADPs, chemical attractants, then once the see, collagen is the first substance which attracts the platelet cells, but that is not enough to hold over there. Then what happens here? There ADP plus serotonins will come, then more amount of platelet cells will be gathered over there. Along with the platelet cells, serotonins will accumulate other blood cells like RBCs, WBCs, all those things will be captured over there. Then it will lead into the blood coagulation. So generally, we divide blood coagulation into three phases: prothrombin activation phase, and prothrombin to thrombin conversion. Then, by using thrombin, fibrinogen conversion into fibrin. Okay, we'll do this part in the next class because it is a lengthy and we need to have already. I think you must have tired by sleeping. I'll continue in this in the next class. Okay. Make your cameras on. How many people are there here now? All of you, make your cameras on. Hello. జస్ట్ ప్రోగ్రామ్ ఆన్ చేసుకుని పడుకుంటున్నారు అనమాట. దిస్ as attendance. Hey Moses.
Yes, sir.
Oh, why did you made your camera off?
Okay.
All of you, Shalini, Gunasri, Samir,
Sir.
Sai, Satish, Praniti. Only 10 members are attending the class. Okay, I'll take a screenshot. Okay then, anyhow, you are having a next class. So just I stop the recording mode now.